my 6-week scan, because you have a scan quite early, they're like, congratulations, you have twins. And I was like, what?
Oh, my goodness.
So the one embryo split. So it was definitely a miracle.
Hi everyone and welcome back to No Place Like Home. I am your host Larissa and I am here today with Claire.
Hi.
And today we have the beautiful honour of chatting with Caterina. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here today. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. You stayed with us at home after you had the girls, Gigi and Dolly, and I was actually away when you stayed. So this is actually our first time meeting, which I feel really lovely and honoured to meet you.
Oh, likewise.
I had heard so much about your stay here from the team and how much they loved looking after Gigi and Dolly and you.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit about yourself for people who may not know you. Tell us a bit about your background, family, work.
Well, I am 44. I had two girls, twins, identical girls. I'm a solo mum by choice. Went through IVF.
Wow.
I'm a wiggle when I work.
You're a wiggle.
I'm the red wiggle.
The red one.
I come from a big Italian background. I've got
beautiful.
family of 6 of us, but then an extended family of 30 plus cousins.
Yeah. Whereabouts in Italy?
Calabria.
Oh,
So down south.
nice.
So I always wanted to be a mum, and
Yeah.
I was blessed to have 2 little girls now.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. You did always want to be a mum?
Yeah, I did, and I think throughout life it gets a bit tricky when you're so career focused.
Yeah.
And you love what you do, so you don't really want to stop. But then in the back of your head, you're like, no, but I don't want to regret not ever being a mum. Like getting to an age where I was like, oh, now it's too late.
Did you feel like you had that sort of like ticking clock going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just, sadly for women, we do have a time frame, unlike men who can have children. Like my grandfather, God rest his soul, he had a child at 72.
Wow.
Really? Oh my goodness.
He was a widow and he remarried again, obviously a younger woman. And she wanted to have children. And so,
Wow.
So I have an auntie who's 5 years younger than I am.
Oh my God,
I know,
that's
it's
wild.
So I was like, well, men could do that, but sadly women can't.
Yeah, no.
So I always wanted to be a mum, and I was getting at an age where I thought, well, because a lot of people kept saying, oh, you're so fit and healthy. I said, but the outside doesn't mean the inside's fit and healthy. Yeah. You know, you might look a certain way, but doesn't mean your body is. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
I decided to, at 37, freeze my eggs. And at the time, I knew a little bit about it, but didn't quite understand what that meant. So I went to a fertility clinic and they explained the process. And I'm like, okay. So first time I had an egg retrieval, I got 7 eggs.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think it's sort of okay. Yeah. What they explained to me was sometimes the more eggs you have doesn't necessarily mean they're good eggs.
Yeah. Okay.
You might,
they grade them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you might be able to get 30, but only 2 of them are actually viable to become embryos.
Yeah, okay.
So 7, and then I did it again and I only got 1 egg, and that was within a year, like how quickly my egg reserve dropped from 37 to 38.
And emotionally, like mentally, emotionally, that would
Yeah, you sort of go, oh,
yeah, that would feel quite heavy, I imagine.
Yeah, and I'm very like, I try to stay positive all the time. So I remember saying to the doctor, oh, no, I have 8. 8's my lucky number. That was my way of like, oh, that's a good sign.
Yeah. But you only need 1 viable embryo, right?
Essentially.
For pregnancy.
So, and then I had another egg retrieval and had got 2 eggs. So I had 10 eggs all up.
And that was another 12, that was 12 months after? Or
it was probably a little bit shorter, maybe 8 months in between, because then I started to go, oh, no, I'm getting older. Quick, we got to do this before there's none left.
So in amongst all of that, was it always a thought that you would do it solo?
No. At the time I thought, oh, this is just my backup plan. Right. You know, Mr. Right's coming along and maybe I won't even need these. Like I keep saying to myself, I'll donate them to another lady if I don't need them, because you have a choice of what you want to do with them if you don't use them. Yeah. And you can donate them to science, to a person, or you can destroy them.
Right.
And I thought, oh, no, I would donate them to somebody. But, yeah, COVID hit, and like a lot of people see reassessing their lives. What am I doing? What's happening?
I know.
You know, how many
a big life reassessment period.
Yeah, it really was. And sadly, my dad passed away during that time too. Oh. So you went through all of that. I went through all those emotions, and then I thought, I need to do this. I'm over 40 now, and I'm not getting any younger, and there is no man that's there at the moment. So what am I waiting for? And, you know, you had your moments of like, oh, but maybe there will be a man. But I thought, I can't wait for that. Because even if they say you do find the person of your life, they might not want children, or they might already have children, and they're like, actually, I don't want to do that.
And then it might not happen straight away. Exactly. And there's a period of time getting to know each other. And
that's right. You can't automatically meet someone like, oh, by the way, do you want to have children?
Yeah.
The timeline
I'm ready now.
Right?
Yeah. He'd be running for the hills probably. So, that went down that path.
And so what was the timeline from kind of you deciding you were going to do it solo?
It went fairly quickly. The only trouble is there wasn't a lot of donors available at the time through my fertility clinic. Perhaps there was others in other clinics, but I wanted to stay with the clinic I was at.
Yeah.
So it was like you can't even count it in one hand how many there was.
Really?
And so
there's a shortage, isn't there, of donors?
And so the first donor I chose, by the time because I didn't know, you've got to order certain things.
Right.
And I didn't know what to order. So I had to ring the doctor. Just like, you've got to order this, blah, 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 blah. And by the time I wrote back, oh, can I have donor number, blah, blah, they're like, sorry, his allocation's taken. So I'm like, oh, dear. So then I had to wait.
Wow.
So there was a bit of a waiting process to get another donor, because then the thing is, when people think you're getting a long list, but I didn't.
It's like it's a catalogue that you can stick through and you've got your choice. Yeah.
It's just a couple, and then you want it to make sure it's compatible with you and that they're not a carrier of a genetic and you aren't. So all of that sort of needs to match.
Marry up.
Yeah. So it was probably just under a year, I think.
Okay.
To sort of start again. And then once you do choose your donor, then they have to create the embryos, and that's when they, defrost your eggs, I guess, and create embryos. And at that point, they explain to you, look, you've got 10, but it doesn't mean you're going to get 10 embryos. And they actually give you an app so you can watch them being created.
Wow.
Quite fascinating.
God,
and
that's amazing.
And the lab will call you every day to say, they've got 8 now. Well, there's 7 left, 6 left. So they give you updates because they don't all survive the process.
Right.
And then.
So you used all 10?
Used all 10. Yeah. And that was another thing. I'm like, do you use all 10?
Yeah, do you save some in case it doesn't work this round?
So I just used all 10 because I thought it was such a long process to get to there.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to go back and then because then you'd have to find another donor and go through all of that again.
Of course.
So out of the 10, 2 became embryos.
Right.
So I was like, great, 2's good. Happy with 2. And then I had an embryo transfer. So the first one I had, and, you've got to wait 2 weeks till you're told. And so you've got that nervous 2-week wait. And in the back of my head, I kept saying, this isn't going to work. Like I was very not negative, but I felt maybe I didn't want to be disappointed. So in my head, I was like, this is not going to work.
You were almost setting yourself up for the
failure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, it did work. And I was like, what? Okay. Wow, this is amazing. Okay, let's celebrate. So
wow.
I was so happy. So I went through all that. obviously told a few people, not too many people.
Yeah.
And then at 9 weeks, sadly, I miscarried.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a shock to the system. You never expect that to happen to you, you know.
Oh,
and
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you. It's one of those things. It happens, and then you're like, well, now what? Like, what happened? You know, it's such a chaos.
Yeah.
And then from talking to other women, you realise how common it is. I didn't realise. Like, it's not really spoken about, and I understand why, because not many people want to talk about a heartache like that.
Yeah.
But the more people I spoke to about, the more said, oh, yeah, that happened to me too. And I was like, what? It was, quite extraordinary. So, I did that. And then the clinic said, well, you've got one embryo left. And they're like, do you want to transfer? Because you've got to wait until obviously your period comes back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to transfer that straight away but I was going to America and Canada on tour, and I told them, and they said, maybe wait till you come back. And then you're in the country, just, all that sort of stuff.
Not traveling on airplanes and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So, we did that. Came back, and then even before the second embryo transfer, I kept thinking, okay, if this doesn't work, what do I do?
What's next?
Start to panic, and then I started like looking up
Understandably,
donor eggs and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But thankfully it did work. So, and my 6-week scan, because you have a scan quite early, they're like, congratulations, you have twins. And I was like, what?
Oh my goodness.
So the one embryo split. So it was definitely a miracle.
And do they say that's quite common for that
to
happen?
Beforehand, I had heard that if you're older, you're going through IVF, you've got a higher chance of having twins. But I never really.
I wonder why that is.
Interesting.
I don't know. It must be obviously the medication, but I don't know what the age has to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you would think, like, not for us to sound aging, I'm going to be 44 on Saturday too, Caterina, but you would think that internally it wouldn't be able to manage or,
Yeah.
hold.
I know.
Hold two babies. But that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Someone needs to do a study around that.
Yeah, I know.
If there isn't one done already.
Yeah. So I sort
Were
of
you shocked when you found out they were twins?
You know when you go for a scan and you're like, what are they looking at? And they're like,
It's taking a long time here.
They're looking in there. And then I saw him go to the other side, and I thought, I think I've just seen what he just saw on that side, on this side.
So did you? You see it?
I saw it, and I was like, and then he's like, congratulations. I was like, oh, I did. I wasn't imagining that.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, so happy, just tears of happiness.
Oh,
I was like, I can't believe this. And at that time, I'd only told like a couple of people I was doing another embryo transfer, because after the miscarriage, you didn't want to
put too much pressure on yourself.
And everyone gets so excited for you and happy, and I didn't want to have to do that. So like my mum knew, but my siblings didn't know. So now that I had twins, I'm like, I think I probably should tell them now, because I can't keep it in. It's too exciting.
No. Oh my God. So then how was your pregnancy?
Look, my pregnancy went really smoothly up until the very end. So I was fine. I had I guess what a lot of pregnant women have, fluid, and I had like a bit of a lot, I should say. Couldn't really feel anything from my hand, feel, when you've got like the tendons are all.
Yes,
like it's numb.
Yeah, so like it wasn't carpal tunnel, but it was that sort of.
Wow.
Yeah, so like
peripheral neuropathy almost.
Yeah, everything was. I almost had pins and needles in my hands every day.
Right.
But I say that, that was nothing, but it was annoying at the time.
It would have been quite frustrating.
It's funny how you forget that. I guess like they say with labour, women forget the pain that they go through, or a cesarean.
Yeah.
So that was all fine. I sort of worked up until 32 weeks, and I probably would have worked longer, but I had to travel to Sydney for work, and you can't fly. We're not meant to fly after 32 weeks. And I almost didn't get home because you're meant to get a doctor's note every 2 weeks to say you can fly, and I just forgot.
Oh no.
So my last flight from Sydney to Melbourne, they're like, they just sort of randomly stopped me. I've never been stopped before. They're like, asking me, are you pregnant? Yes. And so I sort of ticked every box that was a red flag. Twins, she's older, she's this many weeks. And they had to call. There was about 3 different phone calls to.
Even for a 1-hour flight from Sydney.
And I was like begging them. I said, I just came here on Tuesday. It was like 3 days later. I was fine. I'm going back. I'm not coming back again. Like, I'm staying home. I promise. Like,
please let me go home.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is my last day. I promise I'm not flying again. So eventually they let me on the flight. But there was a lot of phone calls. I had to call different people to allow me to fly.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So then it was almost like once I stopped working, that's when my body went, now we're just going to like have a bit of fun with you and give you all the other fun things that you didn't get.
Oh, really?
So it's quite amazing. So like from then onwards, I developed preeclampsia.
Oh.
I had to be hospitalised one night because my blood pressure was so high. My fluid was so ridiculous. Like I just was filled.
Oh, no. You would have thought that all would have come about when you were working and travelling and doing.
No, nothing like that. It's just almost like as soon as I stopped, my body went, she stopped. Let's give her it.
Now we're going to make sure she stays and doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. So then I had to like go to the hospital 3 times a week to be monitored all day, which I didn't mind because it gave me something to do. So I was like, well, I can't do much.
So I'm bored.
I'll just sit at the hospital and read a book.
Wow.
So it forced me to do that.
Yeah.
And did you have a birth plan at that point?
Well, all I knew at that point, I had a scheduled cesarean at 36 and one day because I have fibroids and the doctors told me it was obstructing labour.
Yeah.
One doctor did say you could try if you wanted to, but I really didn't want to try if it meant I was probably going to have an emergency cesarean anyway.
Yeah.
So, and because I was so uncomfortable by that stage, I kept going, I hope they come out today. Like I was like, it's safe now. But then once they were born, I'm so glad they did stay to 36 weeks because you realise how precious every day is.
Yeah, and how tiny they are, vulnerable, yeah.
So, I had scheduled cesarean and, it all went to plan as in like it came on the day that they said and had no major issues or anything afterwards. So I was very lucky.
That's brilliant. That's so good. What did your support network look like? Obviously going into this as a solo parent, twins, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of thought into what the after would look like?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I went to like a twin class beforehand and they said put everything like don't worry about money or anything like that at the start of your pregnancy. Just put it all into help. If it's a nanny, a babysitter, a cleaner.
What great advice.
So I did what they said. I hired a cleaner. Come in once a week. I actually hired one of my cousins to be my nanny, and she was brilliant. She would actually get angry at me if I didn't leave stuff for her to do. Because in the middle of the night, you're like, I'll just clean a couple of bottles. She's like, no, do not clean, don't do laundry, don't fold anything. Like
Go back to bed.
Yeah, so that was really helpful. And coming from a big Italian family, there was so much food delivered. My freezer was full. I actually had to say, I can't fit anything else.
That's enough.
Yeah, so it was
at least
really
it would have been delicious food too, I'm imagining.
It was pretty good. So I was lucky in that I did have a big village around me. And like anytime anyone wanted to come over, it was almost every night, I'd always make sure they came at a feeding time so that they could feed the babies.
Yes.
And I could
just feed yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So it was lovely.
Good. So your postpartum then, you were quite organised. You were, as much as you could. I suppose it's a bit of the unknown, isn't it, going into this, particularly with twins, let alone one baby.
Yeah.
Amazing. How have you then navigated your return to work?
Yeah, well, look, I went to work quite early for some, but for me, I was ready and like I love what I do and it's great for my mental health as well. So I hired a nanny who was able to look after the girls for me. But the beauty is work had set up a room for basically almost like a creche.
Oh, that's
There's like
amazing.
a bed in there if I ever have to take a nap.
Oh, how amazing.
Porta cots, like a nappy change, all of that sort of stuff. So I have a room at our work, and it's, open for anyone else who brings a baby in. So my girls get to come to work with me and the nanny stays with them. And when we're on set, when we're not recording, like we're just doing music and things, they come on set, or if we're having a rehearsal, they come and we had a rehearsal last week and I was just holding one as we were dancing along. So
that's
so special.
brilliant,
And everyone
isn't it?
at work loves them. Like everyone gets excited, and it's so great for all the staff. They get to come down and have a bit of baby time for a few minutes of the day, and I think it's lovely.
Yeah, how beautiful. So tell me, I'm always intrigued. Where did you first hear about home?
It's funny you should mention that, because I also did I was doing so many classes because I wanted to be organised. So I did another twin pregnancy birthing class at the hospital, and the nurse there told us about home. Because she talked about your postpartum care, and she said, look, there's a new place that's just opened, and I was like writing it down. I got to look this up. So yeah, she
how amazing.
told us all about it and saying it's wonderful, and you must have just had an open day, so she must have been there, and she was explaining it all to us. So it was really lovely that
you need to tell me off air who that was, so I can send a big bunch of flowers.
So that's how I first.
Do you think it made a difference to your transition to home?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was actually so excited to come here. Even while I was pregnant, I kept telling everyone, and when I have the babies, I'm coming to this place. And I keep telling everyone. So everybody knew I was coming here. They're like,
so good.
Have you gone to home yet? And I'm like, soon.
I love that. What advice, Caterina, would you give to anybody else that when it comes to building that village, like obviously culturally you had the benefit of having that big Italian family, and, but what advice would you give to anyone else, not necessarily even solo parenting, just to parents in general?
Yeah, I guess asking for help and saying yes to the help offered. I think that's what the one thing as humans we're like, oh no, I can handle this. Well, if that's your personality too. And I learnt to say yes and okay. Like even just like getting out of the car, like I find at work, one of my colleagues were like, oh, do you need help? And I would usually say, oh, no, I'm right now. I'm like, actually, yes. Can you hold a baby, please?
Yeah.
So just doing that, I think that's important to say yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And people like that, I think, as well,
And people wouldn't offer if they didn't want to help.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that, like especially as women, we're more inclined to say no.
Yes.
Actually being able to lean into the yes is like such an important thing, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Big question.
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know, might not be. But I enjoy asking this question. What do you feel needs to change in terms of postpartum care? I suppose from a system point of view, what do you think we need as parents to change within the healthcare system?
Yeah, I guess like having the funding so that people can go to places like home and having other places like this around, and also awareness, because I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, because the amount of people I told, they're like, really? I didn't know that existed. So, the education of that there is places that you can go to help you and to ease into that.
Yeah. It's not even just home, you know, is it? It's just that the broader postpartum care, lactation consulting and sleep consulting and, all
pelvic floor recovery.
So
many things.
Yeah, like there's so many other things in postpartum care that are just,
there's no value attached to it.
There isn't. And it's sort of like, what do we need to do to be heard?
Yeah, that's right. And yes, having those, like you said, the care that, like I went to, physio, chiro, did all that, but I think it's because of my background in dance they're things I go to.
That you value because you value your body.
But if if that's not your career, you wouldn't know that, physio could probably help me here.
Absolutely.
So I think, that's important to educate and guide women, I guess.
Did you feel like you had any surprises in your postpartum that you were like, oh, didn't see that one coming? Or
I think the recovery from a cesarean that was a surprise. That is brutal.
It's major surgery.
You're like, people told me and I was like, oh, yeah, I'll be right. And then I was like, oh, my goodness, this and wow. I don't know how people do this all the time. After I read out, I'm never doing that again. It was
major surgery and also looking after two babies. Like that's huge. I mean, it's huge if you've got one baby.
That was really tough.
Yeah.
But like all things, you sort of forget about the pain after a while. But that was tough. The recovery from that.
Yeah. You're feeling well now?
Yeah, now I'm feeling great.
Great.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much. We have really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you.
We will talk to you again soon.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guest speakers. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and content here should not be taken as medical or professional advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any personal recommendations and medical care. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate based on the best available information at the time of recording, we welcome any comments, suggestions or feedback via our website contact form, home.com.au/contact. Names and details of personal experiences may have been changed to allow for anonymity and privacy. To join the conversation, join us on social media at Home Postpartum.